Imagine a vegetable that defies every rule of the modern American garden. While your tomatoes and peppers fight for every inch of growth in the summer heat, this plant erupts from the earth, growing up to 10 feet in a single season. It looks like a small tree, yet it is a soft, edible herb. It has the satisfying crunch of celery, the tender texture of asparagus, and a flavor profile so distinct and sophisticated that early 20th century gourmets described it as pine-infused fennel. In the early 1900s, this was not considered an obscure weed or a botanical curiosity. It was poised to be the next big thing on the American dinner plate. The United States Department of Agriculture literally bet the farm on it. It was served at the finest banquets in Washington, D.C., championed by the most famous plant explorers of the age, and touted as the winter crop that would revolutionize American agriculture. It was supposed to be in every backyard from Maine to Oregon. Yet today, it is virtually unknown in the West. It exists only as a weed in abandoned estates or as a rare ornamental in the gardens of eccentric collectors. This is not a story about a plant that failed because it could not grow here. In fact, it grows so aggressively, it can outpace almost anything in its path. It failed because it demanded something the 20th century American food system was ruthlessly eliminating: patience and darkness. This is the story of Udo, Aralia cordata, the mountain asparagus that challenged the industrial machine and lost, and why it might be the most important perennial you can plant in the shadows of your garden today. Welcome to Ancestral Yields. If you believe that the best foods are often the ones we've forgotten, make sure to like this video and subscribe. The story of Udo in America is inextricably linked to one man, David Fairchild. He was the Indiana Jones of botany, the legendary USDA plant explorer who founded the section of Foreign Seed and Plant Introduction. In 1902, during a seminal expedition to Japan, Fairchild encountered Udo in the markets of Tokyo and the traditional ryokan inns in the countryside. He was captivated not just by the taste, but by the culture surrounding it. He watched as Japanese chefs sliced the crisp white stalks into soups or dressed them with miso, creating a dish that was both food and medicine. He saw a vegetable that bridged the gap between the winter famine and the spring harvest. Convinced he had found the successor to the asparagus, which was suffering from devastating rust disease outbreaks in America at the time, he shipped crates of rhizomes back to Maryland. The USDA backed him fully. In 1902, the Bureau of Plant Industry published Bulletin No. 84, a government manifesto dedicated specifically to the cultivation and cooking of Udo. This was a full-scale propaganda campaign for a vegetable. Fairchild did not just grow it, he evangelized it. He famously served Udo salad to Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. He placed it on the menu of the prestigious National Geographic Society dinners in Washington, D.C., watching as the capital's elite crunched on the exotic stalks. For a brief moment in the Edwardian era, Udo was the vegetable of the future. It represented the golden age of American plant introduction, a time when the government actively sought to diversify the American diet beyond the monotony of corn, potatoes, and cabbage. But as the decades turned, the Udo simply vanished. While Fairchild loved Udo for its culinary potential, he may have underestimated its pharmacological power. Aralia cordata is not related to the asparagus it is often compared to. It is a member of the Araliaceae family, making it a close botanical cousin to English ivy, and more importantly, the legendary medicinal root ginseng. Udo is not merely a source of calories. It is a functional food packed with bioactive compounds that modern science is only just beginning to understand. when we compare Udo to its supermarket counterparts like celery or asparagus, the difference in chemical complexity is staggering. A standard stalk of celery is roughly 95% water. While refreshing, it is pharmacologically quiet. Udo, however, is a reservoir of diterpenes and saponins, the same class of compounds that give ginseng its legendary status as a system tonic. Research published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology has identified specific acids in Udo, namely coranoic acid and continentalic acid, that act as powerful anti-inflammatory agents. In laboratory studies, these compounds have been shown to inhibit COX-2 enzymes. For context, this is the exact same biological mechanism utilized by non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen. Eating Udo is, in a very real sense, consuming a mild, natural anti-inflammatory that targets the body at the cellular level. Furthermore, Udo is rich in chlorogenic acid, a potent antioxidant found in coffee and sunflowers. According to Japanese nutritional standards, fresh Udo contains approximately 220 milligrams of potassium per 100 grams, or about 3.5 ounces, rivaling many sports drinks. It also provides a significant dose of antioxidants that have been linked to slowing the release of glucose into the bloodstream and lowering blood pressure. But perhaps most intriguing is its potential effect on the brain. Much like ginkgo biloba, another ancient plant often paired with Aralia species in traditional medicine, extracts from Aralia cordata have been studied for their neuroprotective effects. Studies involving scopolamine-induced memory impairment in mice suggest that extracts of the plant can ameliorate oxidative stress in neuronal cells. It acts as a brain tonic, supporting the body's resilience against stress and aging. So if Udo is a delicious, high-yield, medicinal superfood, why aren't we buying it at Whole Foods? The answer lies in the changing nature of labor and the American obsession with convenience. You see, Udo has a secret flaw for the industrial farmer. In its raw green state, growing in full sun, the plant develops a strong, resinous flavor, often compared to pine needles or turpentine because of high terpene levels. To make it a delicacy, it requires a process called etiolation, also known as blanching. In the early 20th century, farmers would laboriously mound earth or build wooden boxes around the emerging shoots in spring to block out the sun. In the dark, the plant cannot produce chlorophyll. The stalks turn stark white, become tender, and that resinous pine flavor mellows into a sophisticated, lemon-like aromatic sweetness. This process is an industrial nightmare. You cannot blanch 100 acres of Udo with a tractor. It requires an army of laborers to shovel soil or manage boxes for every individual plant. As the 20th century progressed, American agriculture moved toward total mechanization. Crops that required human hands were discarded. Asparagus breeders developed green varieties that did not need blanching, leaving the labor-intensive white asparagus and Udo behind. Simultaneously, the American palate shifted. We fell in love with the predictable sweetness of corn syrup and the bland crunch of iceberg lettuce. The complex, slightly bitter and aromatic profile of Udo, even when blanched, became too much for a culture that prioritized shelf stability and uniformity over culinary depth. Udo didn't die. It was ghosted by a food system that valued speed over quality. However, the very traits that doomed Udo in the industrial age make it the perfect king for the home garden. To bring this giant back, you first have to understand what you are looking at. Udo is classified as a megaphorb, a term botanists use for giant herbs. It follows a dramatic cycle of death and rebirth. Every fall, the massive 6 to 10 foot tall stalks die back completely to the ground, leaving nothing but the soil. Beneath the surface lies a massive, fleshy rhizome network. When spring arrives, Udo explodes from the earth. The energy stored in those roots pushes shoots upward at a rate of 1 inch or more a day. This rapid growth creates massive biomass quickly. A well-established patch can produce armloads of thick, edible stalks every single spring for decades. The prize is the Udo Nomi, young thick shoots that emerge before the leaves unfurl. Foraging for Udo in abandoned gardens or the wild requires extreme caution because the young shoots can superficially resemble pokeweed, Phytolacca americana, a toxic plant that causes severe gastrointestinal distress and, in rare cases, death. The most critical distinction lies in the texture and scent. Udo shoots are covered in a fine, fuzz-like hair called pubescence, whereas pokeweed is completely smooth, hairless, and shiny. When crushed, Udo releases an aromatic, resinous, and piney scent, while pokeweed smells grassy or acrid and lacks that distinct herbal punch. Emerging pokeweed shoots often have a deep magenta or purple tint, while some Udo varieties have a reddish hue. The presence of the fine hairs is the definitive diagnostic feature. As always, never eat a plant unless you are 100% certain of its identity, and avoid harvesting from roadsides or utility easements where municipal herbicides are commonly sprayed. Udo solves a problem that plagues almost every gardener: shade. Most standard crops like tomatoes, peppers, and corn demand 8 to 10 hours of direct sunlight. Udo is a forest floor giant. It evolved to thrive in the dappled light of the woodland edge. It turns the useless dark corners of your yard into your highest yielding food zone. To grow it, you likely will not find starts at a big box store. You will need to source seeds or rootstocks from specialized nurseries like Gelito, or through specialized permaculture networks. Plant the rhizomes in rich, well-draining soil in USDA zones 4 through 8. Give it space. If you don't want to go through the labor of mounding soil to blanch it like the Edwardian farmers did, you can use the soaking method. Harvest the green shoots when they are young, about 12 to 18 inches tall. Peel the thick green skin, slice the white inner pith thinly, and soak the slices in cold water with a splash of vinegar for 30 minutes. This draws out the excess turpentine-like resins, leaving you with a crisp, aromatic vegetable perfect for salads or tempura. While Udo is a celebrated food, it is potent. Because of its relationship to ginseng and its ability to move blood and qi in traditional medicine, pregnant women are often advised to avoid consuming large quantities of Udo roots or concentrated extracts. Individuals with specific allergies to the Araliaceae family should exercise caution. As always, consult a doctor before adding any medicinal herbs or foods to your diet. The difficulty of Udo is not a flaw, it is a feature. In a world of instant gratification and pre-washed bagged salads, Udo forces us to slow down. It forces us to engage with the biology of the plant, to understand the play between light and dark, between resin and sweetness. David Fairchild was not wrong about the plant's potential, he was just early. Or perhaps the world became too fast for Udo. But we can choose to slow down. Planting Udo today connects you to a lineage of medicinal eating and forest gardening that stretches back thousands of years. If you have a shady corner in your garden that grows nothing but moss, plant the Udo. Reclaim the lost flavors of the forest and bring the mountain asparagus back to the table. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new about the food beneath your feet, hit that like button and subscribe. We'll see you in the garden.